Hey,
Easy title.
hey, Shady Gang. Thank you. Welcome to our mid-season roundup get together where I tap in with the top seven and I just say, how's it going? What do you think about things? And it's kind of chill, it's fun. And then we can get back to the banter nonsense. But we are here talking about those Spurs. Goodness gracious. You knew I had to have them on. They always give us troubles and struggles. But there's a respect there, isn't there? I'm here. I'm super excited to be talking with Wendy. And I am going to actually let him talk about his podcast because you will hear the accent. And I always feel like with my English, my American English, it's always good to get uh, the funny talkers starting off and getting them because us Americans we love the accents. So Shady Gang. I've been talking long enough. Please give it up for Wendy. Yes, yes. Round of applause. Yes, you deserve it. You deserve it. How's it going, friend?
It's going well. Thanks for the lovely intro. That's the most applause I've ever had on a podcast. I mean, that's because no one's ever there with us while we record.
Hey,
But so low bar. But you climbed right over that low bar.
hey, I'll take
Yeah,
it. I'll
nice to meet
take
you.
it.
So
So
yeah.
yeah,
So I tell you about the
please,
podcast then.
please, yeah,
Cool. So yeah, we've actually been going for 7 years, which blows my mind.
nice.
But it started slowly. So um, we were an offshoot of another Spurs podcast called The Fighting Cock, and then a couple of us, myself and Bardi, who is on the podcast with me now, we decided we wanted to do kind of a more tactical deep dive. So we started recording like an extra Fighting Cock episode every now and again to talk about tactics. And then we realized actually this makes no sense because essentially we've got the same podcast going over the same game every week. We may as well just branch out and do our own thing and separate completely with full support from our friends at the Fighting Cock, which is really
Okay.
nice. So we then became the Extra Inch. So it's myself, Bardi, and Nathan A. Clark, who is our tactics guy, and we record a weekly podcast on a Monday night, which, as I say, has been going for 7 years, but really got going during the pandemic, during lockdown. Had a lot more time at home, a lot more free time, so we became very regular, which I think is the crucial thing with podcasts, right? Like
Yes,
people just
especially at the
want that
beginning.
regularity.
Yeah.
They want to know that their podcast is going to drop with them at a certain time every week, and that went really well for us. So yeah, we've been going since properly since 2020 on a weekly basis, have kind of grown our audience and our following. We launched a Patreon, which fortunately has gone really well. So Nathan produces tactical videos. I do a second podcast behind the Patreon paywall with a coach and scout slash analyst called Chris Summersell, he's a
Nice.
brilliantly knowledgeable person and also another Spurs fan. So we talk Spurs and talk coaching and talk tactics, and that's a lot of fun as well. So yeah, it's kind of gone from strength to strength, and this is Nathan's full-time job now. It's great that we're able to sort of
Nice.
fund his existence on this planet.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so all has gone well.
Yeah. Yeah, this is going to be multi-layered. As an American, uh, hearing that your podcast name you were part of a podcast called The Fighting Cock is incredibly insane. Like as an American, we cannot say that. And then for you to go from Fighting Cock to The Extra Inch is just comedic, just masterclass.
Thank
Honestly,
you.
it's
Yeah,
just
we
like
were quite proud of that.
bravo. Like,
Yeah, we were. It was like So it was a kind of play on have you know the Great British Bake Off?
yes, yes.
Yeah, so they had like a separate sideshow called the Extra Slice. So it was
Oh.
kind of a play on that. So Fighting Cock, Extra Inch, Bake Off, Extra Slice. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to look into that because I didn't know about the extra slice, and I love the British Bake Off.
Americans love it more than British people, I think, at this point.
I think I'm finding that out. It's just so endearing. It's just like we're
Yeah, it's very
baking, and
twee.
yeah, and I just whenever friends come over and they go, okay, so what do they play for? And I go, what are you talking about? And they're like, what do they win? And I'm like, honor, glory, a
Yeah,
plate.
exactly.
And they're like, that's stupid. And I'm like, no, it's not. Your brains are broken.
It's just wholesome fun.
Right? And that's literally it. And I need that.
Yeah,
It's so
yeah,
badly in my life. Oh, the world is crazy. But let's get
yeah.
to this the questions.
Sure.
Tottenham, that you were sitting in a really great spot. You kind of ebb and flowing at the moment, but fifth is where you sit. That's not a bad position.
Hmm. Hmm.
How are you feeling about your place in the Premier League right now?
Um, Honestly, just overjoyed with how this season's gone. Spurs fans, we can seem a little bit spoilt when we talk about the last few years because actually it hasn't been that bad in the grand scheme of things. Like there's clubs that have suffered way worse than ours.
United.
But yeah, well, right. Um, but it has been tough. Post Pochettino, we had Mourinho, which was utterly miserable, and then we had Nuno Espirito Santo. He's a nice man, but oh my goodness, was he out of his depth? And then Antonio Conte, who came into great fanfare, and we were all very excited, and it all seemed to be going in the right direction, and then it completely fell apart in the most depressing way. A man who by the end was showing complete disdain for our club on a weekly
Mm-hmm.
basis. We just all
Mm-hmm.
wanted him gone. We wanted the football to change. We wanted the manager to change, and the whole vibe of the club was really brought down by those, well, primarily by Mourinho and by Conte. So to then bring in Ange Postecoglou, who is the most delightful human being, just
He really
full of
is.
beans, very down to earth, very positive, very engaging. Players love him. We play good football. We're pressing high again. We're playing a modern style. He's rejuvenated us. He's brought in some exciting players. And it just feels like we're back on track. It feels like we're back to where Pochettino kind of had us before things fell apart. And that's really exciting. And I think before the season started, any Spurs fan would have said, yeah, aim for seventh, sixth, maybe fifth, and see what happens. So to be fifth, having had such a good start, um, I'm hopeful that by the end of this winter period, we might be higher than fifth. It kind of depends how January goes with the African Cup of Nations and the Asian Games. But yeah, I mean, things are clicking again. We've had some difficulties with some injuries and suspensions.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like we've found the way back to the path forward again, and it feels good.
Good. Good for you guys. I mean, the whole Spursy of it, like it's a thing, and it is unfortunate. But as a rival watcher, it's hilarious. So like, I mean, watching you guys play well, I enjoy that. It's very beautiful football. It really is. It's some positive football.
And,
It's
and
great.
and the thing is about the Spursy tag is that there's no one more Spursy in a Spurs fixture than Manchester City, right? I mean, you are you
Mm-hmm.
you manage to
Especially
Spurs
lately.
it up against us every
Yes,
time.
every time. It's in April we're throwing a live event, and one of the events is a watch party for the City Tottenham match,
Oh,
and I'm
why
like,
would you do that to yourselves?
because we're going to break this damn curse. It's gonna happen, and I want to have it recorded in all its glory and say
you're gonna
when
you're
it
gonna make a
happens,
giant prayer circle.
yep, I'm like, it was because of us. You're welcome, world. Yes, I'm gonna somehow turn City breaking the Tottenham curse and, and just put me right in the center. That's what promo marketing is, right?
Well, all I can
Oh,
say is good luck with that.
great answer. Oh man, let's talk about the team. In America, in our sports, we have a term most valuable player.
Mm,
Usually it's given to the most popular player in the sport.
mm.
Uh, what we want to do, what I would like to do, is use it correctly. Who is the most valuable player on your team that if you took them off, whoop, everything would fall apart because everyone made it seem like it was Harry Kane and he's gone and you guys are just like, hey, no worries, bye, get on. And so this is exciting. Uh, who do you believe at this moment is your most valuable player?
I think it's quite a difficult one to answer.
Yeah. Mm,
But I think, sort of based on who the backups would be, I think you'd have to say it would be Guillermo Vicario, our goalkeeper.
mm,
He has made an insane difference to the team. You know, his ability to keep calm and not panic on the ball and pass out under pressure is everything. It's how we start every attacking move. We build from the back, and the ball goes back to him frequently, and he is just such an upgrade on Hugo Lloris. Like, I can't even begin to say, with the ball at his feet, he doesn't look like he wants to get rid of it. You know, he wants to actually pass out, which is so helpful. Also, brilliant shot stopper. Really,
yes.
really good goalkeeper. So given that our backup goalkeeper is Fraser Forster, who basically I wouldn't ever want to see play for more than 2 or 3 games in a row, I think he is the MVP. Son is so important to us, but we can get by without Son because we've got other players who can fill in, and Richarlison's started scoring again recently, so we can
Hmm.
make do for a few games. But
Okay.
Vicario, I would be terrified if he was injured for any length of time.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Oh, this is already going good. I love this. Well, on one spectrum, giving flowers. Let's hop to the other side and kick them while they're down. Which player's form has been lackluster, or at least what you were expecting at the beginning of the season, they haven't been?
Mm. Um, this is actually quite an easy one to answer, and I, I'm surprised because the first few games, this man was our key player, and I was so excited. Yves Basuma, he's just
Mm,
completely fallen off a cliff, and it's partly ill discipline. So red cards. He's had 2 red cards now. He's going to be banned for 4 games, so we won't see him now until the end of January, which is very
whoa,
frustrating. But
whoa.
also, he seems to have lost confidence along the way as well. I don't know if it's tied to the ill discipline and the yellows and the reds, but there's not the same self belief there when he receives the ball under pressure. The first few games, he was attracting the press and then just driving past players and elegantly dribbling through them. But
Hmm.
that's kind of fallen away ever since the suspensions came. And I feel for him, and I feel for us because he's a really good player, and we need him. We need him to be on top form, and I think a few people are worried about how we'll cope without him because
Mm.
Højbjerg will have to play as the 6 in our system, and he's not as press resistant as Yves Basuma. But yeah, his form has really dipped, and it's been a shame.
It is a shame. Tottenham have made some sneaky pickups these last couple of seasons, and then getting Ange, it really did feel like something was happening. Especially once you get away rid of Kane, that obviously is a huge statement. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
get rid, he left, who cares? I'll let you make whatever narrative you want. You were tired of him. You said go have fun at Bayern. You guys were in control. Yeah, it's just beautiful to see another club do well. You kind of need that for the sake of story and all this other context. Do I always hate losing to you guys somehow? No, I don't, but it be like that sometimes. All right, let's keep moving to Ange. You said some glowing things about him before, but let's deep dive into those. What are your thoughts on Ange Postecoglou? What's too early for me to try to be saying that? Goodness gracious.
A lot of syllables, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I can't really speak highly enough about Ange. I think he is a breath of fresh air. I feel like he has fundamentally changed the way the team plays on the pitch, and I'll come back to that in a minute. But also, he has changed the way the club is spoken about. He's changed the way the club expresses itself outwardly. He has created a connection with the fans. He's put in place subtle changes within the playing squad that have also helped with that connection with the fans. We sing his name every game because we love him already, and I really did not think that would happen. There are a lot of Spurs fans who were very snobbish about the fact that he'd come from Scotland, and
Yeah.
that was his best experience. Essentially, was managing Celtic. Um, there's a lot of snobbery in England around Scottish football, and a lot of fans I kind of thought they're not going to take to him, and if he gets off to a bad start, he will be in trouble. But it's been brilliant from day one. Really,
It
he
has,
he
really
he
has.
he's transformed things, and I think
Uh-huh.
he's just such an impressive character. If I talk about the way we play on the pitch, so we went from playing a 3-4-3 under Conte, where player A passed to player B, and then player B passed to player C, and player C passed to player D. And if it didn't happen in that order, we didn't move the ball forward. And the opposition teams learned how to control that and essentially press Davinson Sanchez at every opportunity, and then Spurs can't play out from the back, and everything falls apart. And it was really ugly. Now we are flexible, we're dynamic. We've got Pedro Porro and Destiny Udogie playing inverted fullback. I mean, it's just insane that he's managed to create a back four with two such attacking players in it. And we move the ball brilliantly. There's angles, there's triangles, there's players backing each other up and being in the right place at the right time and arriving in the box. It's just a joy to watch. And then when we lose the ball, we're counter pressing straight away and we're winning it back and we're keeping teams pinned in. And it's beyond my wildest dreams that he could have transformed us from this plodding wing back three, kind of very old fashioned team to this really modern, ultra high pressing team within a matter of weeks. And there's little tactical adjustments along the way. There's small improvements on a week to week basis, and you can see players slowly growing in confidence and more potential being released all the time. It's very exciting to be a Spurs fan under Ange.
Nice. Nice. I understand why you would be very excited, especially in this beautiful new stadium you
Yeah,
got. You needed good things to at least feel like they're happening, or else it
for
could have got
sure.
real bad pretty quickly. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Winter transfer window begins soon, in a week and a half. I don't know if you know of transfer rumors going on because we're tied to a couple of names, but it's all more summer stuff. Whatever's in whoever city you're tied to, they're all I think like 40. It's like two players. One is like 40 mil. One supposedly is 20, but his team is trying to raise the release clause. It's all weird, but the summer is supposed to be our big. Is there a plan for any winter moves? And if there are, you don't necessarily need names, but what positions are they looking to, I guess, fill those gaps?
Yeah, I think we're kind of, as fans, we're quite clear on what the club are trying to do, which it feels nice actually. We've had a bit of a um, revamp of our recruitment and scouting setup recently. So
Hmm.
we had Fabio Paratici, who is now uh, maybe going to jail.
Excuse me?
Yeah. So he was our director, our sporting director, and he was embroiled in this kind of scandal at Juventus.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and so he left under a cloud, and he carried on for a while doing some kind of consultancy work, as they called it, for Spurs. But now we have a new sporting director called Johan Langer, who I don't really know much about, but I understand that he's quite a quiet, studious, data-driven leadership figure.
Hmm.
And we have Rob McKenzie, who was at Spurs and then joined Leicester and worked for a bunch of other teams and now has come back to Spurs. And apparently he's very highly thought of in the sort of data scouting world. So I think Paratici, the criminal or alleged criminal, put some good structures in place and was doing some good things and had Spurs moving in the right direction. And now we've appointed people who will take that on to the next level, and it feels quite exciting.
Hmm.
So all the players we're being linked with are the kinds of players that myself and my peers and colleagues on the podcast, Nathan and Bardi, would want to be linked with. They're all names that we think, yeah, that's pretty much who we would go for. So it's very exciting from that perspective. So we apparently in this window want to sign a centre back, a midfielder, and a forward of some variety. Not sure if
Oh,
it's a winger or a
okay.
striker. Three is ambitious for Spurs in the January window. We don't
Yeah.
normally get more than one or two signings. So whether we can pull that off, I don't know. The
Yeah.
suggestion is that we're trying to sign Todibo, the centre back from Nice,
Hmm.
um, Jean-Claire Todibo, who is primarily a right-sided centre-back but can also play on the left. So would kind of be ideal because at the moment we just have Romero and Van der Ven, who's injured, with Ben Davis as his understudy. So a backup to Romero who could also cover on the left would be very, very helpful. But he's at Nice, who are second in Ligue 1 at the moment. So there's a question mark about whether he would want to leave at this point in the season or whether he'd want to stay and try and challenge for the title in France. But he would be a fantastic signing if we can get him over the line, probably around 40 million, something like that. So quite a lot of money. If we don't get him, there's a Romanian centre-back we're being linked with as well. And then several other centre-backs have been named, but I get the impression that they're very much backups for if we don't get our first or second choice. Midfield-wise, we tried to sign Conor Gallagher from Chelsea on the last day of the summer transfer window. And the expectation is that we will go back in for him. Chelsea have a bunch of problems with FFP, and also they need to make space in their squad for Lavia, who they signed in the summer and has been injured. So in some ways, I mean, Gallagher's their captain at the moment and has been playing week to week, but in some ways you can see the logic of them selling him if they get a good fee. And we're being strongly linked with him. I think he'd be a really good signing. Personally, I think we probably need to prioritise the 6 rather than the 8, but we don't really have many goal-scoring midfielders other than Maddison, who's injured. So I kind of like the idea of signing Gallagher. And then wingers or strikers, we haven't seen too many names specifically. We don't even really know the profile necessarily of what we're looking for, but another player who can play across the front line would be very helpful. Kulusevski has been fantastic this season. Richarlison obviously started off quite patchy. Obviously, he was carrying an injury, has now had surgery and seems to be doing well again. And Son is magnificent, but he's also quite old now and he can't be relied upon to play every game. It's not fair to put that much pressure on him that he has to play every minute of every game. So another player there would be really, really helpful, I think, for the squad.
Okay.
So quite a busy January, potentially.
Yes, I think it's going to be a very fun January because of so many teams with injuries and how they're going to deal with that. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. So who, if anyone, who do you think City would sign in January?
There's Valentin Barco, who's at Boca Juniors, and midfielders. It's only if Calvin leaves, it's just who do we replace him with. There are names out there. There's like Paulina from Fulham, because he was going to go to Bayern, but that fell apart.
Right, yeah.
They were able to boost his release clause up a little bit. People are asking for Zubamendi. There are not really any of the names make me go wow, but that's typically what we need. I think they try to make too much of a splash with Calvin Phillips. I was worried about what he would be able to do when he came in first place, just because Bielsa ran him into the ground, and I honestly thought that this is how it would go. I thought he would do better. I thought his mind would be great, but I thought physically he wouldn't be able to do what we would need him to do. And maybe that is what's happening, and that's why he can't seem to understand pep ball, because physically what is needed of him he can't do anymore. He hasn't really gotten enough playing time to really get down to what is wrong. It's just he's off. Like his touch isn't what it's not what's needed at all. I've been telling this anecdote. I went to the U.S. Man City tour down in Houston. I went to the private practice, and I got to watch the Rondo training and all the pep trainings that he does, and seeing the technical brilliance of that was before Cancelo, and so Cancelo and Mahrez, they're unreal in person. Like truly watching how they handle the football and it just taps on their foot and then falls onto the ground. I have no idea how you do that. Calvin Phillips, recently joining us, was doing rondo drills with the academy kids, and
Right.
the academy kids were doing better than he was.
Okay.
And that's when I was like, oh, this is not going to be good. This is going to be an uphill battle. Yeah. And now that this has all happened, now I'm telling the story because I didn't want to, like, while he's struggling, tell that story to make it sound like I'm like pooping on him because any
Yeah.
player on our squad, I want the best for them. Like, you're on our squad. It does not help me, you not being good. So, yeah. Yeah.
So where do you think he'll end up?
Cuba. It's where he wants to go. And our team
Mm-hmm.
has this stupid thing where they try to, despite them not, they just want to make every player happy. They
Mm-hmm.
just want to make him happy. And that's where he wants to go, even though Juventus said we don't even want to pay half of his fees. And we don't even want a guarantee that we're going to purchase him in the summer. It's just like, bro, what do you? I understand things. It's you struggled here and you want to screw us over financially. Like it's just that's where I'm kind of getting annoyed with him. But it's like I want to send him off positively.
Yeah.
Good vibes. You tried your best here. It hasn't worked. We've all had those relationships, you know. Sounds like a good idea. You get together, and then after a couple of weeks, you're just like, "Yeah, this isn't working, is it?" And you just go your separate ways. Final question. Uh, Thoughts on how the second half will go? Where do you think they'll land in the Premier League? Any trophies in your future?
It's such a hard one to call. So I mentioned January being difficult earlier because of the African Cup of Nations and the Asian
Mm-hmm.
Games. So for most of January, we will lose Son to the Asian Games and Basuma to the African Cup of Nations, but I mean, he's suspended anyway, so what the hell? And also Pat Matassar will also be going.
Oh
So we'll be
yeah.
very thin in midfield, and obviously with Son going, that's
Mm-hmm.
guaranteed goals out of the team for January.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, January isn't too hectic in terms of fixtures, but you never know what kind of condition players are going to return in, so that's slightly troubling. Plus, we have Bentancur out until at least February, maybe later.
Mm.
Madison is not expected back until February. Van der Ven is not expected back until February. So very
Yikes.
thin squad, and it's just a case of kind of getting through this next period and getting as many results as we can. I feel pretty confident about the next couple of games, um, but once you're playing 2 games a week and injuries become a factor,
Mm-hmm.
the squad is already decimated. We cannot cope with any more injuries, and that's where things would fall apart. All being well, keep players fit, get those injured ones back. I think we'll finish the season really strongly. I think from kind of February onwards, we will be a force to be reckoned with our full choice, first choice team back on the pitch. And I do feel confident that we can make a run for the top four before the end of the season. The FA Cup would be amazing. We used to be a cup team, but we're not in recent years. And I would love to win a trophy, but I think probably it's unrealistic given the state of the squad at the moment.
Okay.
But you never know. If we get
Yeah.
a nice draw, then who knows?
Well, the way that I see it is you only have 3 games in January,
Mm,
and one of them is the FA Cup match against Burnley, which is
yeah,
a completely winnable match.
yeah, for sure.
And then a week to prepare for United, and then 2 weeks to prepare for Brentford. Well,
Yeah,
yeah, so I mean, it's positive. After that, it kind of gets a little like tough. You got teams that are gonna be in that kind of mid-table area trying to make that push, and
hmm
that's I think the fun, free-flowing football that we have been watching at the beginning of the season. I think that's going to slowly dry up, and I think we're going to start seeing a lot more 2-1s, 1-0s, 1-1s. Yeah, especially closer to the end of the season.
mm,
Well, I guess except for the bottom 3 teams, because they're just in relegation
Hmm.
perpetually. They're not going anywhere. They're
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's it also depends on whether we get those players in January that we're supposedly being linked with.
yes.
Because if you make a couple of key signings, as we saw with Bentancur and Kulusevski, it can really make the world of
Mm-hmm.
difference.
Sure.
In Conte's first season, we signed those two, and suddenly we were, pushing for a Champions League where we didn't think that was possible before. So that would be a massive help if we can boost the squad with two or three new signings.
Yeah. Oh, great. Shady Gang, please, one more time, give it up for Lindy. Yes. Thank you. Shady Gang, you are so nice of people. Yes. Oh, calm down, calm down. Hold on. Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Look at you. Look at that. They're just rooting on the
They really liked
Spurs.
it. They really liked it.
Yes. Wow. Surprised them, me.
Someone
Wow.
just threw
Okay.
their underwear at me. I mean, wow, I wasn't expecting that.
You keep it. Have fun. Well, one more time, please plug the extra inch. Let people know where to find you on social media. How they can hear, watch the show.
Yeah, sure. So we are on X for now at the extra inch. We're also on Blue Sky, which I think is the future for us
Oh, are
probably.
you? We're on it too. I'll follow you now.
Nice. Yeah, the extra inch on Blue Sky. Patreon.com/, the extra inch for the sort of tactical deep dives. And then the podcast on all your usual podcast platforms at the extra inch. Spurs podcast. Yeah, I think that's it.
Hey, all right, I got you on. Well, Shady Gang, you know the vibes. Shady Gang, Shady Gang, Shady Gang.